Possiamo iniziare? La faremo in inglese perché ci sono appunto delle persone straniere in aula, quindi grazie anche per questo. So, good evening everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the first ESCP Europe executive event in Turin. Thank you for being here this evening. Let me introduce myself. My name is Stefania Vaudano, and I'm responsible for the Executive MBA at ESCP Europe for the Turin campus. And I organized this roundtable about connecting ideas, startups, funds to innovate. The first question is why? And this topic is what the market exactly needs at the moment. And we have no doubts on that. The second question is how? And the purpose of this initiative is quite ambitious. We want to answer you, to inspire you, to give you new insight on the worldwide direction. But above all, we want to make it really practical, because innovation is not only a matter of ideas. Innovation means creativity for execution. This is innovation. And in this game, ESCP Europe wants to play an important role of promoter of the innovation process. We want to support innovation as an educational incubator, aimed to coach people and their mindset to face the new world challenges at the international level. And this is our mission. I would like to give you a brief overview of the agenda of this evening. We are going to have a round table moderated by Vittorio De Pedis, Professor of Corporate Finance at ESCP Europe. So thank you, Vittorio, and welcome to all our guests. Thank you for being here. After the round table, we will proceed with a buffet dinner. So you will have the opportunity to get to know each other, to exchange ideas, to ask all questions you want. After that, at 10:30, everybody is invited to visit the exhibition managed by the curator of the Fondazione Sandretto, Rebaudengo. So thank you also to the foundation. And let me introduce Professor Francesco Ratterino, Director of the Turin campus. Thank you, Vittorio.
Thank you, Stefania. Thank you for having organized this fantastic event tonight. It's the first of this kind in Italy that we do, because we introduced the club executive in Italy just right now. And it works pretty much well, because the audience is pretty much full, so we're very proud. Well done for the excellent job that was done. It's not easy to organize these events. It's a big effort, also an entrepreneurial venture. Let me add very few things. As a school, we've always been very close to entrepreneurship. Most of you know that the school was founded in 1819 by Jean-Baptiste Say and Vital Roux. Maybe few of you know that Jean-Baptiste Say was an economist who coined the term entrepreneurship. So if you go on Wikipedia, you can find that, trust me. Yeah. So maybe we can ask our friend here from Google then to check it out. And so we can truly say that the school was rooted on entrepreneurship. But not only that, another aspect that we truly care at ESCP is the humanistic value of European management, as opposed to scientific management, which is the US way. And it's not by chance that we are here tonight, that we are here at the Fondazione Sandretto Rebaudengo, which is one of the most important art foundations in Italy. So let me thank Patrizia Sandretto Rebaudengo and Emilio, who is in the audience. Thank you very much. Because we really think that management is about people, and in fact we are a business school and we train people, and we need to, have this unique link between humanistic values, scientific management, and we think this is the way that Europe can get its way out of this recession, and that's why tonight, We're talking about connecting ideas, startups, and funds to innovate. So let's the show begin. And when I say show, normally it's one way, but for the people that, and we are many alumni here, that were part of some of our trainings, you know that it's actually two ways. So I hope you're gonna enjoy tonight and participate a lot. We picked some of the best brains, and I can say so because most of the people here tonight are actually either alumni of the school, professor or lecturer. So it's really, you get a very good sample of the ESCP network here. So pick from their brain, and let's find a way out of this recession through innovation. So please, Vittorio De Pedis, now it's up to you to start the night. Thank you very much for being here.
Okay, guys, good afternoon. Thanks for coming. I'm very happy.
When you raise the word entrepreneurship,
no, the good thing is so many friends around, friends this side, most friends that side, excellent. Let's start. I'll give you a few hints in a moment, but let me start on the funny side. Entrepreneurship must be fun, must be something we want to do. And I start with a video of a friend. This is one of probably the #1 professor in the world for screening business plans of startups. He's seen thousands, and it's got an ironic vein in which I want to show you how he thinks about this, especially what he thinks about the entrepreneurship function, not an economic function, but a way of management, which is very much linked to what Francesco said about the way we look at things. So let's start. It's a very short video, but very funny, and let's use Will Salman, professor at Harvard Business School, where we studied, to open up this thing. Bye.
and when you raise the word entrepreneurship, many people talk about psychological traits. There was research some years ago that said you have to have a domineering mother to be an entrepreneur. How many of you have a domineering? No, I really don't want to. No. Yeah, my mother won't let me raise my hand at that question. There's also the notion that entrepreneurs are risk seekers or risk bearers or something. And I really don't know anybody who gets up in the morning and says, where can I find risk? You know, it's sort of, where can I find reward? And on whom can I foist all of the risk? So, my colleagues and I like to think about entrepreneurship in the way Edgar described it, frankly, which is a relentless pursuit of opportunity beyond the tangible resources currently controlled. The basic idea is not to focus on what's there from the past, what you've accumulated and what you need to protect, but to always think about opportunity looking outwards and looking at what customers are doing and understanding how that process evolves. And indeed, success becomes your enemy and causes you to protect what you've done before. We have the view that in today's world, you actually can't protect the status quo. It simply is not possible. And we think of entrepreneurship not as a personality trait or as an economic function like innovation, but rather as a way of managing. And it's got some differences from being a bureaucrat or an administrator, and we'll try to describe some of how that operates. I'll also tell you, I've now screwed up the picture, but it's act, listen, or it's a believe, listen, act. I was trying in real time, Edgar, to capture your definition, because I actually think it has a lot of wisdom embedded in it. Because entrepreneurship at the end of the day is not about thinking about problems, but it's about acting. And indeed, I'll try to make the argument that ideas are a dime a dozen and execution is all that matters. I have seen so many people with the same idea, and I have seen a team like John Osher's team out-execute every time.
Very good. So I think it's not only funny, but wise. From our point of view, like professors, for example, is a big challenge because the idea that the idea that what you know is your enemy is a revolutionary idea. So why we should keep teaching things we know if they're not useful? They were useful. So that's the reason why we have these guys here today. We got a good table because we got the whole chain. I'm going to be introducing them very soon. Let me start from this, another idea that has come up very recently. I'm just going to give you now and at the end some hints about what's changing and what's new. Lots of stuff. Some things you might know, most things you might not, so we'll see. The lean story. Lots of people think about the lean story because it's just in time, it's Toyota, but this is, what about the lean story as you start when you have nothing there? So there is a lot of interest in this fact that we move from this philosophy to that one. So instead of executing business plans to testing hypotheses on the ground, which is live. Now the good thing is this, we spend a lot of time teaching you guys how to do business plans, and there was a line somewhere that said, who needs business plans today? Well, maybe the Communist Party of North Korea still does one, and venture capitalists want one. So maybe he will tell us something about this. So, and what about the idea of showing you something that works? I'll show you what the other guys are doing, some guys are doing, which is not showing you what works, but showing what you think it might work, and you tell us how to improve it before it goes on the market, or as it goes on the market. This is quite innovative. So, just as an introduction, what we call minimum viable product, something that looks like a product, but you tell me how to improve it in a way that you like it, and then you're going to buy it later. Instead of, this is it, you like it. And if the answer is no, then it's another failure that we go through. Pivoting. So when it's not working, we pivot, we change, and this is something you have done, and so we're happy to have you here to explain what you've done. Now, let's start with the new academic research. It's the only piece of research we're going to show today, which is this from Professor Josh Lerner, #1 in this topic. He thinks, and he says, new data show that startups backed by corporations instead of backed from venture capitalists have a high degree of success. This is a really new thing. Doesn't contradict the fact that venture capitalists and private equity back up successfully sometimes new ideas, but it's new the fact that these corporations start to be very successful and much more involved than in the past in producing their own nephews and sons and producing more offspring. So this gives me the opportunity to talk about Google for a second, but before I do that, let me tell you that it's not just Google. Google is a classic example, and I'm so happy that we got Fabio Galetto there. He's got some pretty interesting presentation. I'll pass it on to him in 1 second, but just this is a funny list of companies that do this. All these guys and many others foster, spend money, invest, venture into startups. Apple started a long time ago, outsourcing programming capability. Now all these guys are doing it. Look at the last one. If you don't believe it, go check out that website, IQT, and it's written, this is the CIA. We invest in new ventures by young guys who have ideas that we could be using. The CIA. So, interesting twist. So, having said that, I want to start this round of presentation with Fabio down there from Google's, because he's going to tell us the story from this point of view. Then we're going to move to other point of views. From his point of view is the company story, is why corporations have such an interest in developing outside/inside startups instead of the classic VC function. So Fabio, there you go.
So, good evening to everybody. I'm really proud to be here, thanks. And I'd like to show us a Google approach, because if you think Google is like a big startup, about 50,000 head count, but it's the approach, the way to work, it's exactly what you imagine it could be a startup approach. They asked me to talk about the technology, innovation, and I'm really happy to do, because of course it's the core of our DNA. And if you heard about TED speech of Larry Page, the CEO, one of the two co-founders of Google, in the TED, It's a really clear idea about technology. Technology is not, in the mind of Larry, is not something incremental, but it's something that can revolution the everyday life for the people. So it's disruptive, something that really can change the world. In fact, I show later on the statement of the co-founders, so you can imagine how even every startup can think big and really having to change the world. The technology currently is really running fast. I show really a funny example, how long the device have achieved 50 million of users in the world. If you look, I can make a contest with answer first. The radio was 38 years, and the TV was 13 years. Of course, 4 years it's becoming really smaller. And with the tablet, we achieve 80 days. So we reach the same numbers, 50 million of people in just 80 days. So imagine how fast is running the technology. Is for this reason that you have to set up ideas and organization as well. Because I think one of the best quality of Google, it's the company make it happen, not just ideas. Accepting the failure, testing. If you look at what Vittorio said, it's exactly the approach that was presented before. Probably even if a Google product is so in our life, everyday life, I use a lot of video, sorry, but I think it's one of the most engaging way to show, to present the company, but to happen the discussion. And I would like to use a video to present Google, to introduce Google, because many of you probably knows Google just about search, but is even more. Around, imagine 150 products that probably you use. And in some cases you don't know that they belong to Google, like for example, YouTube. So. What I think is incredible, I think that Google is just 60 years old company. So it seems to be a really old company because we use a lot of product. You saw search, of course, YouTube, Chrome, Android, and Google Maps, Translator probably. You can understand that why a billion of people use Google product. Because really we try to make the life easier. And, but what is incredible is just in 16 years. Have you told before, if you look at the goal, the original statement of Sergey Brin and Larry Page, so the two co-founders, really they don't make a threshold to the ideas. They like to think big and really to change the world. even if from the financial point of view, not everything could work. And just to explain the DNA of Google and how a startup, a company can involve even the audience, the public, let me say, the people that they are looking for, I would like to show reCAPTCHA code project. It's one of the million of projects that we are doing, but I think it's exactly what Google is. I don't know if you know what is a CAPTCHA code. CAPTCHA code is an array of characters that some site use to go in because they want to be sure that the people that really want to click on the site want to go in, and it's not just for accident. So you saw in some site a couple of numbers or letters. You think that Google want to digitalize all the books in the world. This is the idea. And in some cases, it's the automatic algorithm translating the words, the letters, can work because the books, for example, are old. The algorithm cannot recognize automatically the letter. So imagine that every single day, more than 200 million people click on a CAPTCHA code. Try translating letters. So around, they use 10 seconds to translate the CAPTCHA code, adding all the time together, we have every day more than 150,000 hours of a free job from the users. So Google offered to the site a CAPTCHA code, and they put in the CAPTCHA code the letters that we would like to translate to give you back as a user old book translated and digitalized forever. So this is an incredible way, I think, to make technology and involving people. I think it's one of the reasons of the success of Google. I put together, as you mentioned before, a couple of examples of innovation technology. I spent a few words before just to make insight about the project, and then I show you the video to understand much better. This is a project Loon. Loon stands for balloon, because the problem is how to connect people all over the world. In some cases, it's so difficult to wire the country. So the project, this is running as a test, because as you saw before, it's not just idea, but make it happen, so make something real. We are testing in the New Zealand balloon. So balloon fly over in the sky and connecting and covering and the internet the country, and to give access to the people to the internet. I show a video.
Sometimes everyone isn't really everyone. Like when people say, everyone's on the internet, because the truth is, for each person that can get online, there are two that can't. And when you look closer, that everyone looks even less like everyone. In some places, it's more like 1 in 1,000. In others, it's 1 in 10,000. And in some places, no one's online at all. But what if there was a way to light up the entire globe and finally make all the world's information accessible to all of the world's people? Well, even though today 1 in 3 kids can't get to a real secondary school, everyone could have secondary school come to them. In places where there aren't enough doctors, everyone could be helped by doctors in other places. Farmers everywhere could start using better weather data, so everyone could enjoy a bigger harvest. And because small businesses that are on the internet grow twice as fast, everyone could create new opportunities for everyone. But how do we bring affordable internet to everyone? Maybe finding an answer starts with looking somewhere new. Like up, and trying something different, like balloons. Yep, that's right, balloons. Because it turns out that if you use balloons, it's faster and easier and cheaper to give everyone the internet than it is to give some people the internet. That's why we're giving it a try, and why there's hope that someday soon, everyone really will mean everyone.
Seems to be crazy, seems to be too big, no, seems to be useful for millions of people. It's clear, it's clean, it's easy. So, but as you can see, it's not just an idea. It's something that became real. And if I jump in the other project, probably you heard about, is the self-driving car. If you connect everything, this is kind of a strategy that I think Google is really top of the list, because balloon connectivity, self-driving car, you need to be connected everywhere, and then maybe maps, maybe bringing some company like Waze to have traffic information is a part of a strategic picture. So another example, self-driving car. I think quite, now is more around 500,000 kilometers done without any accident.
Good morning, Steve. Hey, Nathaniel, how are you? Doing just great. Go ahead, Steve.
Auto driving.
Here we go. Away we go. Look, Ma, no hands. No hands anywhere. No hands, no feet. No hands, no feet. No nothing. I love it. So we're here at the stop sign. Yep. Car's using radars and laser to check and make sure there's nothing coming either way. I find myself working. Old habits die hard, man. They don't die. Hey, anybody up for a taco? Yeah. What do you want to do today, Steve? I'm all for tacos though myself. All right, well, let's go get a taco at the drive-thru. And we're turning into the parking lot. How neat. There we go. Now I kind of creep along here. Does anybody have any money? I've got money. No, I've got my wallet right here. You roll down your window and order a burrito. Yeah, push that. I'm doing very well. How are you today? This is some of the best driving I've ever done. 95% of my vision is gone. I'm well past legally blind. You lose your timing in life, everything takes you much longer. There are some places that you cannot go, there are some things that you really cannot do. Where this would change my life is to give me the independence and the flexibility to go the places I both want to go and need to go when I need to do those things. Get out. I've got places I have to go. You know, so, anyway. Bye now. Hey, it's been nice. You know, it's been nice.
I go fast. I show you another acquisition because Google is likes to aggregate some new startup like Nest. Internally in big picture, as I told before, is like a domotic environment, so how to make easier our life, save energy, and for this reason maybe we need to have much more control from satellite of the image, and then look at what's happened. The really last acquisition, Skybox imaging, to improve more and more the quality of the image. And then for the last few minutes of video, I combine some virtual, so the video with something real. And I brought to you the Google glasses that I show in the video. I can show afterwards when I will be in the dinner, in the buffet dinner. So if you wanted to have a look, and I show what will happen with Google glasses.
Yeah. Meet me in front of Strand Books at 2. Oh man, really?
Hey there, guy. Hey there, little guy.
Sweet. Remind me to buy tickets for Monsieur Gano tonight. Where's the music section? Oh, yes, this is it. Is Paul here yet? Huh. Hey, dude, how's it going?
Want to go check out that new place I was telling you about?
Sure.
This truck's really good.
Hey, just a second. Cool.
Good to see you again.
Thanks, man.
Got a new place in Alphabet City.
See you, dude. Whoa, cool. Take a photo of this. Share it to my circles. Oh, I'm running late. Music, stop.
Hi, what's up?
Hey,
Hey.
you want to say something cool?
Yeah, sure. Is that a ukulele?
Yep. Okay, here goes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
You can't lose with this kind of assets. It's fascinating stuff. The balloon is unbelievable. This one is even crazy, even better. Thanks, Fabio. That was fascinating. Now let's move down to earth, and because we are what we are, and it's our school, and we are proud of our students. Let's see what this guy is doing. This is Giacomo Moiso. He's the leader of Fluentify, which I didn't know that much. And as soon as I started getting involved, I was asking my friends, and everybody knows you. So your company, it's amazing. So let's see what Giacomo has done, which is a classic startup, and see if we had any part in this. Probably not, but we like to think that way.
Thank you, Vittorio. So first of all, I'm super happy to be here with you tonight because my company, Fluentify, is literally a company made in ESCP. I studied at ESCP. I graduated with Andrea, one of my co-founders, last year in December. And Fluentify was born at ESCP when I was studying in London with Andrea. You also have to know that Fluentify was born by mistake, I would say. We started with a concept, and thanks to one of our professors in London, we immediately started working with following the Lean Startup methodology. And you mentioned it, Vittorio, before. Just to let you know, it's very simple, and from an operational point of view, Lean Startup means that you don't have money. We're not Google yet. And so when we want to do something, we start from a simple point of view that we don't have money to invest. So we try to do simple thing, and before investing just €1, we really have to be sure that that euro will be well invested. And so as an internet company, we decided to disrupt the way people were learning. Every day we heard about B2B, B2C, C2C. We followed the new kind of trend called P2P. What I like to say that it's people to people. We are humanizing the internet, and what we really want to do is to connect people through the internet. So the first idea was to allow high school students to study online for private tutoring. And we called that project Cloud Prof. It was not Fluentify yet, it was Cloud Prof. And it was very, very simple. And we, luckily enough, with Davide Sola, that professor in London, we started following the Lean Startup method. But unfortunately, we understood that in order to have an internet company, you also need to be able to write lines of code. And nor Andrea or I were able to do that. And so that was the first real lesson we had that is called the team. In order to have a great company, you need great people to execute in the right way. And that's how we started looking for the right people, for Claudio and Matteo, our co-founders. And with Davide's network, we started showing our project and product immediately to investors. That I think, I love you guys, I love investors, but I think that the later, the better. You don't want to have someone who put money, and of course, at the end, you have a very good relationship with your investor. I hope you do, but of course, they put money and they want to see results immediately. So with Davide's network, we started meeting people from the entrepreneurship environment, and we started receiving feedbacks. And we understood that Cloud Prof was kind of the wrong business for us, because we are a marketplace. Fluentify is a marketplace. It means that we're an agent. And it's very fascinating, but there's a bad news. It means that we don't have one client like normal companies. We have two clients, because we have to provide, in our case, tutors, and then we have to find people happy to pay for the service. To make it worse, with Cloud Prof, we also had to talk to parents, because normally high school students don't have a credit card. They might have PayPal, but they prefer to buy stuff on Amazon or PayPal. They don't like to spend it on education, of course. And so we decided to pivot. We decided to focus on what we knew it was working, and that's languages. That's basically how Fluentify was born. Fluentify is very simple. We start from a basic concept. If you want to improve a foreign language, you can do lots of things. You can watch videos on YouTube, you can translate songs, but at the end of the day, in order to become fluent, you need to talk, you need to speak, and you need to do that with native speakers. And if you can do that talking about things that really matter to you, if you have a goal, if you have to get ready for an interview, if you have a business meeting, at that point, for you, it's very important to understand and to learn a specific kind of language, not just being fluent, but being fluent in that specific industry. And that's what we do basically at Fluentify. Fluentify is a new method to link language learners to native speakers. It's the most simple, natural, and effective way to improve a foreign language. And we launched in April last year, so at the end we developed the team with Claudio, Matteo, Andrea, and I, and we launched in April. And we've been super lucky because our first investment came from a client. After 3 weeks we launched, Kaplan International Colleges, I don't know how many of you know Kaplan, but is the leading English school in the world. They are an offline school with over 70 schools around the world. They came to us. It's crazy, I know. They came to us. We were a 4-people company with 3 weeks old, so it's kind of crazy. And they knocked to our door saying, you know what, guys, we love what you did. The platform is just amazing. We like that. Shall we buy your service? So they offer us a white label contract. And we said, no way. I mean, I'm not going to kind of finance with technology and knowledge a competitor. Or I'm not going to do that. Why don't we do business together? Let's develop a platform for businesses, because at that point we were not yet ready to target businesses as well. Why don't we do that together? Let's do Kaplan powered by Fluentify. And of course, we are a 4-people company. Of course, you should pay a fee. And luckily enough, they said yes. So we didn't have to give up equity, but we had a small investment that allows us to run the company for 6 more months and to develop the business. At that point, we are in November 2013, and we have a good reputation because of Kaplan. We have clients, we have the team, and also we have a great product. And at that point, we decided to start to talk to these guys. It took us 20 days to find our investor. And that's, I was talking to Nicola before, and this is something I really believe in. People always struggle to find investments, and there are few reasons about that. They don't have a team, they don't have a product, or they don't have clients. If you have all these things, people are very happy to give you money, and it's something real. So it took us just a small period of time to find an investment. And the guy, Stefano Marsaglia, is one of the head of at Mediobanca, really believed in the project and offered us money, but most of all, he offered us his network and knowledge. For the last 3 months since the investment, things have been very, very good. We're growing a 70% month-of-month rate in terms of in terms of sessions sold. We have been, Victor, you never believe that, but we have been lucky again because the Fluentify story is something very easy to understand. I guess most of you in the audience are kind of fluent in English, but of course there's room for improvement, and people immediately understand the need we are going to solve. And PRs, journalists, are very happy to talk about us, and this is the only investment we did so far. We had great media coverage, we went on TV a few times, and that's really what helped us developing a kind of successful business. We are very proud about what we reached so far. And in future, of course, as a startup, I remember when I was at ESCP, I was kind of convinced that once you have a great product, the deal is almost done. I mean, if you have a great platform, you don't need to do that much. In reality, this is not true. You always need to do something. Google is of course the guru about that. You also always need to do something different, something new. And this is why we are investing a lot in people, in great kind of talent, helping us to develop new software and to make Fluentify bigger, well-known, and of course the final goal is to sell sessions. So in future we're now developing an app to destroy every kind of barrier in terms of mobility. And we're also focusing on a methodology in order to really create kind of IP. Internet startup cannot kind of patent things, but we have a commercial IP. We are very proud about it. We are proud about our clients, and we are developing a methodology. So stay tuned, and you'll see in future what we're able to do. Thanks.
This makes me want to cry, because I remember when in conferences like this, when I was his age, and there was no way whatsoever to be on this side talking to people on that side about successes at this age. So it's fascinating. These guys are great, and we are so happy. We have more stories about our alumni. This is fantastic. We have a couple more that I will tell you in a minute. But let's move to the funding side. We have two friends here. Let's start with Nicola, because iStarter is the leader of iStarter, which is an accelerator. Not everybody knows what an accelerator is. He's going to tell us and why it's so useful and important, and we have it here.
Thanks, Vittorio, and I'll try to take a bit from Giacomo to give you a bit of the picture of the ecosystem working around startup development. I'm Nicola Garelli. I'm a manager of the Boston Consulting Group, and tonight I'm representing iStarter, which is a business accelerator I founded with around 60 brave equity partners a couple years ago, and I'll try to tell you a bit about iStarter in a while. But first, as we might have perceived from Giacomo also, launching a startup is an extremely intense and immersive process. And it is an immersive and intense process also from an emotional point of view. And usually it is also a process where the entrepreneur should learn, should acquire in a very short time knowledge and capabilities and a good practicality with the business environment. It's basically in this phase, so when the entrepreneur should, in a very short time, learn and acquire capabilities, that the accelerators come into play. Accelerators are basically part of the value chain which supports entrepreneurs developing successful ideas. And not only developing, but also challenging, because as Giacomo was said before, they had an idea at the beginning, but they came out with something which was a bit different. And accelerators usually, if they do a good job, are challengers. So they try to help the entrepreneur to focus and not to lose time on ideas which might not have the right potential. If I were to try to give you a synthesis of which are, at least in my view, the main characteristics and the main activities performed by a business accelerator, I would say that first, probably the most important activity is helping the entrepreneur maintain focus. So stay focused, maintain focus in a way that he can basically reduce the time he loses, because launching an idea is an extremely time-consuming process, and we try to ensure that the entrepreneur focuses its energy at best and tries to put its energy where it is most important. For example, what I see usually, what we see as an iStarter team, is that often we see ideas without a potential market, without an accessible market. So where we have a very committed, very passionate entrepreneur, but in the end, no one wants to buy the product or the service. Basically, if the entrepreneur doesn't realize as soon as possible that developing that idea or that concept is basically losing time and eventually also losing money, it will basically dedicate effort and energy to something where there is no value, not a lot of value at least. The second point, which is a key activity that accelerator should do, is to structure the idea, to give structure. Because what we often see is that entrepreneurs, and particularly when we talk about young developers or young people who approach the creation of a startup for the first time, we see someone who doesn't have a lot of structure, and we ensure that the idea is developed in a very structured way with a precise plan and with the respect of timing and objectives. A third activity is more related to coaching, because what we try to do, and you will see that in a while when I talk about the business model of iStarter, we try to act as a coach, as someone who can basically go along with the entrepreneur, helping him developing competences, developing competences both on cross topics like finance or business planning, things that you saw in those at least during your courses in ESCP multiple times. But also on vertical topics, so specific industry knowledge. The fourth point is that we try to, on this industry knowledge, we try to bring experts who are able to coadjuvate and to help challenge the entrepreneur on the specific industry and sub-industry the idea is developed in. And the last point that we try to, the last activity that we do, and which is usually one of the first which might come to your mind when you talk about a business accelerator, is to give access to a wide network of contacts and relationships, able to ensure not only funding, but also a practical development of the initiative. What Giacomo told before was that they were very lucky that Kaplan decided to invest in their company, and I totally agree. I totally agree because corporate venture capital, as also Fabio was saying before, is extremely important for helping ideas developing, not only for the capital, but also for the, let me say, for the relationships, for the business environment, and for the ecosystem that it brings to the company and to the entrepreneur. If we come to iStarter, I can try to explain a bit which is our business model. iStarter is a business accelerator, quite a robust business accelerator, which is based in Turin but with a strong international presence, because we started the company from since the beginning, having in mind the clear idea that to be successful in developing startups in Italy, we had to be able to give access, to give the entrepreneur access to a wide international network of investors, of companies, of people able to invest in the idea. This is because not all the ideas can fit the Italian ecosystem, the Italian industrial ecosystem. Italy, I won't mention specific sectors or industries, but Italy, not all the ideas might fit with all the ecosystems and all the countries. And when we talk about Italy, we can clearly identify the few sectors where we have a very strong ecosystem capable of supporting the development of the companies, but not all the companies, particularly in B2C, can develop successfully here. So we had to be able to ensure a wide access to an international network. iStarter is based on 60 equity partners, 60 equity partners, 60 young equity partners, selected with a very structured and specific methodology. Few of them are also former students of ESCP, your colleagues. And we try to build the company, the shareholder structure in a way that we had a specific number of industries and of geographies covered. And we came out with this structure where our 60 equity partners are able basically to cover the industries and the main trends that we consider will be the most interesting in the next few years. It should work. It doesn't. Okay, it works. As I was saying before, we work with entrepreneurs trying to give vertical support. When we talk about vertical support, we mainly talk about support specific to the industry. We try to bring horizontal support, that means marketing, communication, finance. So we try to help the entrepreneur develop a pitch, learn how to basically to interact with the investors, which usually are a very non-homogeneous type of actor, because we might find several type of investors, and we have to be able to approach each of them with a specific approach. And then we give the transversal support, which is basically contacts, business introduction in companies doing the same activity or complementary activity, or even to clients. We are based on a pure success fee model. That means that we decide to bring into the acceleration process a very limited set of companies, extremely limited, because we invest in them. We invest in them our time, and we invest in them sometimes even equity. And because we get our compensation only when the company gets funded or as depending on the arrangement, reaches a specific milestone in raising capital or in realizing a specific set of revenues. We try to be pretty interesting for the entrepreneur, because we don't ask anything unless the acceleration process is successful. On the other side, we need to select the companies very carefully, because each acceleration process, only considering the time dedicated for coaching, plus the structures, plus what we basically try to put in the initiatives, usually might take up to 50,000 euros just for, without the equity part, but just for the coaching part. So we need to be sure that at least the company has a potential. And if without going far, I mean, we have we are developing a bit of a structured portfolio. Few of the companies we developed in this 1 year and a half failed. I might give you an example, which is a very interesting one, at least from an investor perspective. The company which got the highest valuation was Takati. Takati was a company that basically wanted to bring kind of Italy, so a supermarket, kind of a door-to-door supermarket with a very smart delivery process. They got an evaluation which was extremely high. Extremely high means 2.4 million after less than 6 months of acceleration, almost no revenues. And Being the company which got the highest investment is also the one who failed first. So it's also something that taught me a lot because I've been investing. I also started up companies by myself in the last 10 years. And I'm a very cautious investor. So I try to evaluate initiatives and also to transmit to the entrepreneur realistic aspirations and expectations. The entrepreneurs of Takati developed a very nice idea, but were not able to deliver it. Probably the investor adopted the evaluation which was too high, and in the end, they didn't succeed. I brought you this example because I wanted also to give you a bit of a feeling of what we look for when we approach an entrepreneur. We receive really hundreds of business plans. There is also, I see Josie here, and I imagine that also you receive an extremely large number of business plans during the year. Extremely large means it might easily reach 1,000 business plans in a year. And when we need to evaluate such a large number of business plans, having a pretty small team, because I relies on contribution given by the equity partners, which are managers in other companies usually, but also has a dedicated team of 5 people, one very senior CEO, and also a good team of analysts. The first thing they try to look for is the team, basically. Is the team, the dedication, and the accessible market. So we try to understand whether the idea has a potential, as a market first, as a clear market, is also simple to express, as Giacomo explained. One of the key points for being invested is that the investor should understand in a very quick way which is what do you want to do. I mean, your product should be easily explainable. There might be difficult or complicated constructs which succeed in the long run, but as a rule of thumb, simple ideas are usually simple, easily explainable ideas are usually the best. The market should always be present and should be very strong and should be sound, basically. And the team should be dedicated and extremely committed. Not everybody can be an entrepreneur. When we analyze the Italian startup market, which is a pretty small one, by the way, I mean a pretty small one in terms of capital raised, but probably a large one in terms of number of startups launched, we might see around a couple thousand startups launched every year. And of those startups, we cannot believe that there are few thousand good entrepreneurs in the Italian market every year. So to be a good entrepreneur, we should have, for sure, dedication. We should also have good knowledge of the industry, usually. And typically, not everybody can be a good entrepreneur. So what we try to understand is whether we try to be good talent scout. So we try to understand whether the entrepreneur might have a potential on its own. And the last point, I went a bit long, so I try to close quite quickly, is that, as also Giacomo said before, the capital, you can find, everybody can find capital if he has the right team, a very good idea, and if he is extremely committed, and if he has realistic ambitions. So with those 4 characteristics, even in small markets where the propensity for investing in equity is not high as it might be in the US, everybody with those characteristics might get capital quite easily. We are usually pretty happy to invest in companies. It's very difficult to find good companies to invest in.
Thank you very much. The idea of a talent scout, I like the idea of the talent scout, but that's pretty much what it is, and interesting story. And it would be interesting to know how many, given 100 new starts that you see, then how many fail, because that's the price of this deal. We have Claudio here to finish up on this, and then we have a few things between us, but more interesting stuff. But Claudio has got double hats. He's, of course, he's investing as a private equity fund. Plus, he's also in the Club degli Investitori. So he's got this double situation. I'm happy that he can tell us a few things about how he sees things. So from accelerator to investment, but also from the point of view of the club, which is kind of angels.
Yes. So, good evening, everybody. And I want to thank you, my business school, for this invitation. Even if I realize right now that I'm in a difficult situation because it's very difficult to talk about money after what I heard from Giacomo. That is a great example that you can set up a great idea without money or without a venture capital, at least for the moment. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I stop here and or after some exciting example of product that can change our life. So it's difficult, but that's my role. So let's go and let's try to have a quick view about the venture capital market. That's come from my experience. That is right now from all the Industriale Ind. I'm CEO of Inda, that is a private equity firm based in Turin. So I can give you a quick view of this market. This also is interesting because it's also a startup experience. It's something that together with my partner I set up some years ago. So I can say right now that it's a positive startup experience. And I want to just give you a message from my experience that is you can even try to be innovative in unusual sector, because I think it's not that usual to think about to have a startup in private equity if you don't have, of course, a family or a bank in your family. And so you can even think about to be innovative in a different sector, and what I did, and I'm very happy to about this experience. And again, back to basic. My experience say that my positive experience comes just to solve needs of your market. You have to know very well your market, to look at this market and try to solve a simple message and needs of your market. But that's my experience. Come back to the startup framework. That's what I think we can call startup framework. That is what we need, the actor that we need to be successful in a startup, and made up of 4 actors: corporate venture, and we have a great example with Google, incubators, with a starter. So right now we are talking a little bit about public sector and venture capital. Let's give you just an idea about what we are talking about in terms of dimension, and that's very sad. We are here with Italy is 135 million. It's not that exciting compared to European, and just to be fair, not to compare with other places where startup was born and still lives. So, what's the message? We have to leave Italy and go abroad? No, I don't think so. I wanted to try to give you some positive message also about our framework and about what we can do together with the public sector and the venture capital industry. So, public sector, Of course, I don't want to talk about public sector. This is not my background. Everybody knows that it's key in terms of regional support, in terms of coordination and support in the regional area, and of course at central level to try to choose the right rules of the game. But don't forget that is a key actor also for simply money. Again, just for money, but that's a good news. By example, if we are here to talk about startups and venture capital, we can say that some days ago, our public actor said that 200 million euros will arrive for new ideas and startups, and that's a big amount of money for Italy. We just saw that last year was 136, so this means that next year will somehow double this market. That's very interesting. But let's go to the venture capital industry. That's something that I know very well, and a positive thing that we are not in a very competitive market in Italy is that you can have all the big operator in one slide. That's probably impossible in some other countries, but in Italy you can say that some of more significant actors in venture capital industry are there. And what I want to underline, of course, is that here we have also a very positive and strong regional network. If we look at Turin in general, we can say that we have both some of most interesting incubator accelerator, and we have an example here, and I3P is another example, and of course a network of venture capitalists and business angels. So one of these business angel network is the Club degli Investitori, is one of the club I'm proud to be part of, and it's a simple more than 77 business angel that realize a different number of investment. And again, just to give you an idea, it's something that I think right now is working very well, and this is a news from some days ago that thanks to this network, Club degli Investitori raised money for two new startups, and one of these, Indavox, is by example now linked with a partner that is eBay, and this means that again, you can work in Italy, of course. You have what you need in Italy. You can even think about Italy and business angel in Italy as a great bridge to be partner then of international player. So let's back to the Italian industry, just to give you in some my point of view about raising money in Italy and in our region. Raising money means for me try to put together a good idea and sometimes money and to start a trip, and that's interesting for me. That's what I like of my job. And but if I want to give you just another point of view, because sometimes we think that the driver is always the venture capitalist, so I mean that you have to try to sell your idea at best to the venture capitalist to choose the right driver, and that's not exactly what I think. Being an investor, I think we can even think about the opposite situation where the idea is the driver, and so the startupper have to select the venture capital based on the condition and the characteristic that he are looking for. So, I mean, just some idea of what I'm talking about. Don't forget to make a good due diligence of your venture capitalist, because I know, because we are some of them are my colleagues. It's simple to realize that in some situation it's impossible that the venture capital give you more than just money, because the number of deals that are crunching means that you can't think about nothing but money, just nothing about networking, know-how, mentoring. So my suggestion is to look at the venture capitalists and to understand if is really a mentor or just a financial and sometimes sleeping partner. And then try to look at the risk that your partner has in your initiative, because sometimes venture capitalists, thanks to the interesting management fee and the consultancy fee, has closed the deal before the start. So this means that they are not so engaged and at the end of the story for your your history, your startup. And this means also that it's not true in this case. This industry that bigger is better. So probably sometimes a small venture capitalist is the best way to have a good mentor that follow you during your idea. And again, and this is probably something that we are talking about later, don't forget to use the entire arena. I mean, there is, you can find money not just with the venture capital, but of course business angel, but also crowdfunders, so you can expand your arena. And that's very good, especially in Italy, because again, if you think that you don't have as much as venture capital you have in other countries, you have to try to expand your arena to be sure that you can have the right partner. I mean, the different choice to be to close the right deal. And just to finish, is something that is exactly linked with what you say. I admit that sometimes we can read that VC are innovators. No, we are not innovators. We are just bad guys. That's the truth. And so entrepreneur are innovator. And so please drive your car and ask for us just for money.
Claudio, you are really funny and serious, but funny. Two important things. Claudio gave us a couple of messages that I want to underline before moving on to a couple of other adventures. One is there is a good news that finally we got a little bit of money coming from the public side. Exactly. It's obvious, it's just not happening. Mm-hmm. It starts to happen, a drop in the ocean, fine, better than nothing, let's start. By the way, the public experience is not bad with the Italian funds, not bad. So, good start. Second thing is this idea coming from Claudio that you as an entrepreneur, as a startupper, want to try as much as you can to choose your own VC is kind of revolutionary, maybe not in America, but certainly here, the idea that you got to find a fit between what you're trying to do and the right type of partner. You know, it's like temporary marriage, but it's got to work even if it's temporary, so it's important. It's pretty good. I want to move on quickly, but I want to use, maybe we have another 10, 15 minutes, no more, but I want to, first of all, give you another hint, because we are what we are a business school, we try to and improve what we do. We got a couple of more stories of some of our alumni doing successful things, and just maybe a minute or two. We got our friends from Build It Up there, I can't see them, but there is a tall guy there. I want to give you a full 1 minute to tell us what you're doing well, because it's a very good story and we really like it, so we are happy to have you.
Good evening to everybody. Very briefly, I'm Nicola Rabacchi, the current president of Build It Up. Build It Up is a non-profit association. Our purpose is to promote, to support the entrepreneurship spirit of new generation. We want to help students to better understand the power of entrepreneurship. Our key activity are very similar to iStarter Accelerator, but our focus are on students. We are here tonight because ESCP is one of the most important partner, help us in a different way, starting from mentorship and coaching on our consulting project. Thank you for the attention.
We just don't. We are quite successful in teaching these poor guys how to be like us, better than us. Thank you very much. I want to mention another initiative, just one moment. I invited another of our students who couldn't come, so let me just show you what it's done. Some of you might know this initiative, the Start Bus. It's a thing that happened 2 years ago and is exploding now. This guy, this alumni of ours is the head of the Italian section. The idea is that you fill up a bus with a bunch of guys doing different things and they converge on a city. Normally it's Vienna for some reason, and you start like in Rome, go to Torino, Milano, and then go to Vienna. By the time you get there, you got to come out with ideas. They don't sleep much, they don't wash themselves too much, but they come out with ideas. And from this adventure, they came out with 2 or 3 they won prizes. This is happening again. It's going to be happening, I think, this year or next year. And this guy, student of ours, former student of ours that now works at iStarter, because the world is a small place, is doing well. He's going to be running this. So there's plenty of these things that we can do in Italy. So the bad news is this is not the most friendly of countries for young people. The good news is that when we were young, we didn't even see these things. So this is the startup bus. It's a bear coming up under. It's crazy. I would like to wrap it up by just giving you messages of innovation which is happening, and then maybe leave the floor open if you've got some questions for our friends. Some new trends. Most of these trends are happening within and without the industry. So the idea of the industry, Claudia was telling us that it's blurring, and so that's good. Angels statistically seem to provide more capital than VC these days. Interesting story. So like corporations seems to be slightly more successful than private equity in funding new ideas. Interesting. Buspreneurs. Now, but also a couple of new ideas like the crowdsourcing, because the landscape is changing. Crowdsourcing is, I like this one from Starbucks. We have, Starbucks is one of the companies, there is many, there is Dell, there is other example. I just picked up Starbucks because it's a household name. What they do, they launch a product after a consultation with the customers. They've got a loyal customer base, people go there, and they engage them in a positive way. Instead of just give me a feedback form, tell me what you like. I think the Frappuccino is born this way, selling gigantic amount of cups. So the idea is, as we discussed before, the idea of a minimum viable product. In this case, there is no product at all. It's tell us what you think. And we pivot, as you have done, to the right. We have an idea, maybe it's not a good idea, let's go to the one that works. That's crowdsourcing. Crowdfunding, new idea for us, not so new elsewhere, but not terribly old, even in more advanced places. Crowdfunding is basically a self-organized market that puts together people offering ideas and people looking for investments. In Italy, we have one which is called Stars Up, which is officially recognized by Consob, the Italian regulator, as a market. It's a market. It's like a semi-regulated market. But the idea is that you can put up your ideas over there if they are structured, they have some minimum amount of feasibility. And then they are open for investment by people who want to put 10,000 euros, 5,000 euros, and it scales up until you reach the amount of money you want. Let's see what happens with that. It's a good idea. Face for Job. Another good idea I've seen elsewhere is these guys are basically transforming the idea of the video CV in something else. It's an intermediary which, especially for the young people here, where you can project what you think are your characteristics, and they will be matched with the demands of the companies, looking for people, especially for young people. And there is a better match because we are looking for this type of guys, and we'll be looking only to those subset of characteristics. And if somebody's liked, then he's invited to produce a small video, answering questions. So he's got a set of questions, he's got to talk about answering those questions. So it's an idea that is being extremely successful as we speak, is being supported by Confindustria. New ideas. This is for hiring young guys. So there is something going on in this mini bond market, just started in this country. I think is a very good idea, helping small and medium-sized enterprises to fund themselves away from the classic banking sector, which is way too much used. We hopefully gonna get some market. Is officially recognized by Consob as well, so why not? It's a pretty good idea. So another thing I want to mention is another of your crowd, which is the HFAR. Just if you got young people in here thinking about doing this, as we hope, the idea is that they are launching a call for new ideas. So if anybody's interested, maybe have a look at their website, which is this one Stefania is mentioning, is showing now, and go and have a look, because they might find backing. So I would say this is there is a lot going on. Within and without, the boundaries are changing. Forget about boundaries. Things are changing so much that we don't want to spend too much time in definitions. Let's move the cheese, as they say. So, having said all this, I would like to to ask you if you got questions for our friends over here before we go to a close, because we don't have too much time, but we've got time for a few questions if you'd like to ask some. We have a CFO down there that, so yes. Be ready.
One question, please. I'd like to know what we miss in Italy in order to have, I would say, the same good startup and VC ecosystem. I don't say in Israel, but let's say France, because we are very happy and proud to see that Giacomo succeeded in his entrepreneurship project, but it is also true that it's a long time we hear about startups and VC, and things have changed in the last years, but maybe not so much. So what do we miss?
It's a very good question, but maybe Claudio can answer this one.
As always, difficult question. Probably we can come back to the framework. Again, it's the combination of the action of four actors, because we can't say that it's just a question of private initiative. It's the combination of the money that can come from the private sector, again VC and business angel, but is a key the role of public sector, and again together with corporate venture and incubator and accelerator. That's simply the mix of these four actors that can determine this, or if you are in Italy with 135 million, or in Europe, or again in US with another story. I think that, but again, we have some good news. We are just talk about the what we have in public sector for venture capital, but that is a good amount of money, but it's always linked to the mini bond, that we have 150 million more for mini bonds, so something that is going on right now in Italy.
Can I add one thing? I didn't say that, but unfortunately, Fluentify is not an Italian company, because as I said before, Fluentify was born when I was living and studying and working in London. That's why Fluentify is a limited company from the UK. And from an operational point of view, I can talk about the UK. The answer is very simple. The government in the UK makes things easier. The environment is there. The government is a facilitator for entrepreneurs. They don't put 200 million, they allow investor to invest in companies. That's it. The overall entrepreneurial environment in London is just crazy. There are service providers that are focused on startups. There are lawyers, accountants, PRs that work just with startups. And I'm pretty happy because now I'm seeing in Italy people doing the same. I mean, the market is growing thanks to these guys. But still, there's a lot to do. And the answer, unfortunately, to your question is too easy not to do anything.
Can you say something more? Because we were talking before, and of course, Fluentify is a limited company, but because it's much easier to start in the UK, but then what happened?
Yeah,
so give us a little bit of hope. You know?
Thank you. Thank you for that. I forgot another thing. Thank you, Francesco. The whole Fluentify team is made in Italy. We are 4 Italian co-founders, and we are very proud about it. That's why we decided to open a company, an Italian company, una SRL, in Torino for 2 main reasons. First of all, there are no developers such as those we have here in Torino at Politecnico. There are great talents, and you can find them in Torino, in Milano, you can find them in London, in the Silicon Valley, but at the end, it's much more expensive. So I think that we have everything to succeed, starting from what Nicola said before, that is people and ideas. Italians are great to have ideas. We have great people. It's easy to link the dots. So we started from our very small experience. Fluentify is a tiny company, but we decided to invest in Italy to open an office and a company here. And so I'm happy to share this information with you. Thanks. Now we are 8 people. Yes, there will be 10 in the next few. We're recruiting talents on a monthly basis. So
how many in London?
In London there are 3 people. So
you are creating more jobs in Italy than in England. So
yes.
You're creating more jobs in Italy than in England. Good.
If I can add something, because just a few days ago, Harry Smith, so the chairman of Google, came in Italy and at Sapienza to discuss with the Minister of Culture, Minister Franceschini, and came again because before to discuss how to move the business in Italy for the entrepreneurs, etc. I think a couple of suggestions that Harry Smith did as so important before. First of all, because if you think we invented the distretti, probably one of the most important kind of small company environment, industrial small company. So if we did, probably we can do even much better for the future. Second, so there is people, there is ideas in Italy. Second, I link this word with what I heard about what the startup need, know the market, know your asset. He said about, for example, 3D printer. Don't try to build in Italy 3D printer. Leave it to Silicon Valley to build up, but take the 3D printer and give it to the designer in Italy, and they will make amazing things. So focus on the asset, focus on the market. I think we can hope to build up some really, really amazing startup even in Italy.
Any more questions, guys? Questions before we go? I know it's dinner time, but Oh, I have a friend there that...
I have a quick one. For the investor, sorry, Giacomo. What does engage you the most? What does engage you the most when you are in front of a startup or a business idea, or when you are discussing with an entrepreneur, a potential entrepreneur? It is about the investment, it is about the return of investment, it is about...
It's simple. What we don't have, the entrepreneurial spirit. Because... boring. Yes, that's boring, my job. So sometimes we are some good storyteller that give you some good story, and we want to be part of the game, just this. But again, of course, it's always a question of yes, the ideas or the story, but and team. So it depends on what you are, the people that you are in front, and that's the point. Just this. What is the inspiration that you give, that you have from the startupper? That's the point.
Okay, we got time for one more question before we go. There's one there from one of our friends.
Yes, just one question that is also a consideration. What do you think about the general opinion of the Italian entrepreneurs about private equity funds? Normally, many of them, they think that they look just at a high level of IRR in the very short period, for example, maybe 2 or 3 years. And this is something that is not very probably understood. But
that's true. That was true. That was true some years ago. That's exactly the point, the starting point of my experience. So you have to look at the market and to see what you need. That is a different story. You can't think to have a way out in 3-5 years. That's another film that was good for 10 years ago, and there was a lot of money for the other private equity, but not right now. It doesn't work anymore. So everything is changing now. The good news is that right now, when some investor ask for when we have the way out, now I can't answer. I can say, who knows? We are long period investors, so sometimes I can skip this question sometimes.
Very, very good. I have to say, just one comment on this, that touching on what you just said, is that, and Giacomo as well, in this town and in this region, I have to say you are particularly lucky because you have some infrastructure of this kind that works. You got Polytechnic, we got other networks, we got club, we got used to have Piemonte, we got lots of these things, lots, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's something. Big cities like this one in the other parts of the country and nothing like this. So they've got to catch up, but this is a good environment. So it's probably, maybe this, Torino, Milan is probably the best place you want to be in Italy at the moment to do this thing. So it's very lucky stuff. So let's wrap it up because we got to go. First of all, thanks for coming. Secondly, obviously we have some buffet dinner here, which is a good occasion for you to mingle and to share ideas with our guest, which I want to thank again for being here. And I will leave you with a message. There is some entrepreneurs here, friends of mine. I want to leave you with a message which is the following. It's this one. Especially for, not everybody's young here, but there is a lot of young people, and if you think you want to work in an environment in which things are stable, this is just an example that things are not that stable, and if you want to go your own path, it's probably better than going the institutional path, and doing something for your future with your hands is probably better. Thanks for coming.